Luffy is known for his cheerful and hopeful personality, often inspiring freedom while carrying a smile on his face and encouraging others to do the same. But despite his naturally happy demeanor, even he has had moments where the world has collapsed around him, where he had to fight off being consumed by tragedy and sadness. While Luffy having a constant smile and radiating happiness is useful in most situations, that very naivety that enables it creates scenarios where Luffy gets in over his head. These low points in Luffy's journey, where he lost his smile and became consumed by sadness, were devastating, but necessary moments in Luffy's journey and his character development. Especially his lowest point, where he came to a realization that changed his outlook as a pirate and gave him the tools he was previously lacking he needed to become the Pirate King. Early One Piece, especially in the East Blue, was more light-hearted and upbeat compared to modern One Piece. Not that current One Piece doesn't have those elements, but we knew less of the One Piece world at the time and just how dark it truly could be. The first exposure we had to Luffy was him popping out of a barrel, full of life and laughter after all, which immediately gives off the vibes of an upbeat and whimsical adventure. But as the story progressed, we slowly got introduced to the darker elements of this rich world, which in a way was the culmination of the East Blue Saga, where Luffy fought Arlong, who was a direct representation of the corruption that plagues the seas. But in terms of Luffy as a person, he never went through a ton of hardship himself in the East Blue. Every enemy he faced, he was able to handily defeat. Most of the time, he fought on behalf of others who reached out to him. He wasn't the main victim, like Nami was for an example. He would hurt for his crewmate, but it was seeing the pain on her face that inspired him to take action on her behalf. But whether it was Kuro, Don Krieg, or even Arlong, Luffy never truly felt like he was in any real danger. He could do what he always did, rush in headfirst and make things turn out well enough through his strength and perseverance alone. No lasting repercussions for him, such as an overwhelming defeat, lasting injuries, or losing someone close to him. The East Blue represented a lot of triumph and basic adventure for Luffy. Every town he went to, he liberated in a way. He defeated Buggy at Orange Town, Kuro at Syrup Village, saved Nami's home by dethroning Arlong. He left each place better than he found it. But Luffy was often naive in these moments. He never felt as if he couldn't win, or things wouldn't turn out for the best. Not a lot anyways, that's just a part of his endless optimism. So for a long time, it never truly felt like the Straw Hats were in danger of losing. Even in Alabasta, where Luffy was handily defeated by Crocodile, he quickly recovered and had no lasting damage. He liberated the kingdom, saved Vivi, and defeated Crocodile. So what is the issue here? Characters naturally need character development. A common way to initiate this is by the character enduring loss and defeat. It makes them realize they aren't invincible, that they aren't strong enough and there's still a lot of growing left to do. In Dragon Ball, Akira Toriyama implemented this early in the series with the deaths of Krillin and Master Roshi, with Goku being helpless to save them. It was done in Naruto where Naruto failed to stop Sasuke from leaving the Leaf Village. So Luffy was lacking a defeat, or a moment that changed his character permanently. We had seen the development of other crew members like Nami, but Luffy was still in need of some as well. He lost Sabo as a child, which made him an Ace promise that Ace would never die, a promise which can't always be kept, that would become a plot point later. Things went Luffy's way very often. He made this possible through his sheer willpower and determination, but that can't always push him to victory, and not forever at least. So his first semblance of defeat, where everything that could go wrong did go wrong, was Water 7. Luffy was powerless to help save Robin, who willingly left with CP9. His relationship with Usopp deteriorated, and his ability as a captain was brought into question. His crew was falling apart, and this inspired a realization in Luffy that something had to change after losing to Lucci. What he says to Blue Note confirms this. I have to get stronger to protect my crew. Luffy had finally suffered a defeat that strength and conviction alone couldn't get him through in the very moment, which led him to saying this. So he used his creativity to quickly grow more powerful with the gear systems, a power that enabled him to fight off CP9, to free Robin, and ultimately repair a relationship with Usopp once the threat had been dealt with. Luffy had been relying on similar techniques in battle for a long time at this point, with a lack of noticeable power-ups and a bit of luck. Against Enel, he was Rubber, his natural enemy, but Enel had an extremely powerful Logia Devil Fruit and even used Haki, so Luffy was far outclassed in overall skill and power at the time. With the gear systems, he devised a way to grow stronger and faster quickly. So Luffy's realization that he wasn't strong enough in defeat is what enabled him to be prepared for further future conflicts in which the gears would prove vital in his ability to survive them. Sometimes defeat can be the greatest teacher, and in this case, Luffy grew stronger to protect his crew out of fear of losing them again. But even though Luffy suffered during the Water 7 saga, he still emerged victorious. There was lasting damage due to losing the Going Merry, but the crew was also in a much better place. They had a new ship, new crew members in Frankie, and a Robin who had finally cast aside the dark clouds looming over her. She now could be there without the worry that had been following her. This carried into Thriller Bark, Luffy, thanks to his crew, avoided anything too serious. Zoro, to protect Luffy, endured greatly at the hands of Kuma to ensure that no one else had to suffer, but Luffy prevailed largely unscathed. Now don't take that the wrong way. These experiences shaped Luffy. Them happening helped mold him into a better leader and a stronger captain to his crew, but he was still reckless. He still went to Sabaody with the full intention of immediately going to Fishman Island and entering the new world without ever truly evaluating if he and the crew were ready. Even when he did lose to CP9, he was quickly able to pick himself up and take them on once again. It wasn't a lasting defeat that Luffy could quickly recover from. In a way, this continued success of the Straw Hats made them cocky and complacent. With a modern look on the series, we know how terrifying the new world actually is. Imagine the pre-time skip Straw Hats trying to go to Punk Hazard, Dressrosa, and Whole Cake Island. They would not be able to. If they'd entered the new world, they would have been swiftly defeated, perhaps as early as Fishman Island, as they lacked the strength to do anything substantial in the new world. But due to how weak they were, they couldn't even make it past Sabaody the first time. Luffy arrived there with the full intention of leading the Straw Hats into the new world. He never really took the time to evaluate if they were truly ready. He had grown accustomed to going from island to island and eventually securing victory over any opposition they ran into. But Sabaody was different. It represented the likes of Kuma and a Marine Admiral, Kizaru, both of whom were far stronger than Luffy and the crew, leaving them helpless to do anything. Luffy's luck had run out here. Even though Kuma was helping the Straw Hats, Luffy didn't know that at the time. Even though they tried to fight back against him, they couldn't do anything. Luffy watched as each of his crewmates vanished before his eyes, which eventually led to the scene of him groveling on the ground in despair, completely helpless, which made such a compelling visual. We had never seen Luffy like this. We had never seen him helpless and hopeless. But him losing at Sabaody was a blessing in disguise for the Straw Hats, as it set them down a necessary trajectory that would prepare them for the new world. It just first had to be showed that they had a long way to go. But even after the Straw Hats defeated Sabaody, there was still a problem. Luffy was stubborn and felt compelled to rush back there to find his crew. This was only natural as he was worried about their well-being, but he was still taking his usual approach of quickly rushing back in, which had always worked before. That was his intent as soon as he had gathered himself on Amazon Lily. If the looming Paramount War and Ace's pending execution hadn't been about to happen, Luffy probably would have followed through with that intent and returned to Sabaody to reunite with his crew. Perhaps once again try to rush into the new world. The Marine Forward arc had a lot of great elements, from Ace's and Whitebeard's characters to the war itself, but one important element is the growth Luffy underwent as well. Luffy suffered more during this saga than ever before. He went through hell and Impel Down and shortened his life if it meant freeing Ace, and in spite of all that, he still failed. In a way, Ace's death was necessary. It was necessary to further progress and develop Luffy as a character, to show that there were situations he wouldn't always prevail in, and that complete failure was possible even for him. Living a life as a pirate and walking the path towards becoming the Pirate King meant the possibility of enduring loss and losing those you most care about. Luffy had taken things for granted up until Marineford. The reality of those close to him dying never seemed like a real possibility because he always prevailed. He almost prevailed again, as against all odds, he managed to free Ace. And if things had gone a little differently, Ace may still be alive in the present day of the story. But Ace's death was a pivotal moment in One Piece, a necessary moment for Luffy's character development. During the Paramount War saga, ranging from Sabaody to the end of the war, this is the most development we've seen Luffy undergo as a character, and the most we've seen him suffer. This is what led to his lowest point in the series. He failed at Sabaody and failed to help his crew. He suffered immensely in Impel Down, and despite all his efforts to save Ace, Ace still died sacrificing himself to save Luffy. It showed Luffy he could lose, and that he wasn't invincible. Luffy was inconsolable following Ace's death. He couldn't even bring himself to get off the battlefield and had to be saved as he endured the greatest shock of his life. Luffy had hit his limit and entered a state of complete helplessness. He couldn't even defend himself anymore. This led him to the lowest point of his life as the realization of Ace's death set in. But through this suffering, Luffy learned a great deal. He learned he couldn't save everybody. He learned he needed to grow stronger, and he learned to be more thankful for what he still had. That's why Luffy's saying, "I still have my crew," is such a significant character moment. Through defeat and the death of his loved ones, he became more aware of what he still had, and became determined none of them would meet a similar fate to Ace. If he rushed the Strawhats to the new world right then, he would be leading his crew to their deaths. His weakness in the face of the Yonko and admirals during the war showed Luffy just how much stronger he needed to get. That's why he decided to train for 2 years, to help prevent anyone else he cared about from dying. He and his crew had to grow stronger. He had to actually prepare for the hardships ahead, as his usual style of doing things would no longer work. Though Luffy lost a lot during the Paramount War, he also gained so much as well, as it gave him the push he needed to grow strong enough to enter the new world and continued on his path to become the king of the pirates. During the entire course of this arc, Luffy threw himself head first, recklessly, if it meant saving Ace. In Impel Down, he suffered greatly, and had to be injected with several hormones by Ivankov to keep going. This happened again during the Paramount War, as his body kept failing him. But in the face of opposition, he kept pushing forward regardless, because to him, he didn't have a choice. He pushed his limits further beyond they ever been pushed before. The scar on his chest that he suffered at the hands of Akainu serves as a reminder as well. A reminder of what Luffy endured in the Paramount War, all of the pain, suffering, and failure he went through in Impel Down and on the battlefield at Marineford. The loss he endured at Sabaody as he failed to save his crew, and the pain of losing his beloved brother in his arms. But also as a reminder of what it meant to him and what it gave him. Though he suffered so much in those experiences, he also grew so much as well. It made him realize that he and his crew were not ready, that the threats he faced at Impel Down and Marineford would be everywhere in the New World. And though in the moment of Ace's death, he wanted to see his crew more than anything, and due to how upset and hurt he was, he realized the best thing for him and for them would be to take 2 years to train and go stronger, and reunite Sabaody, actually prepare to enter the New World, and actually prepare to make the final push to becoming the Pirate King. But that's why Luffy had to lose so much. That's why he had to lose to learn what was necessary to become the Pirate King and to achieve his dreams. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. What do you think is the main thing Luffy gained through all the loss he suffered during Marineford? Do you think it was necessary for him to lose to grow as a character? Let me know down below. If you enjoyed the video, please consider hitting the like button as it helps the video do well, and please consider subscribing to the channel for more of my videos if you enjoy my content. My name has been Champasard, thank you so very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.